Hello, hello. I am Coach Corey Sartori. I empower high achieving women to shift their mindset to grow in their self-love, confidence, and career. I am excited to talk to you today about personal responsibility and share with you my story with personal responsibility because I know that it is something that is so incredibly valuable that helps you grow. I have started working with women that don't take personal responsibility. They blame others. They blame their mom. They blame their husband. They blame their ex-husband. They blame everyone else, but they take zero responsibility for their life and their actions and their choices. And you can't grow from this place. I know that for me, it took years for me to fully understand the importance of personal responsibility and to start being that person and showing up as someone that takes full accountability for their life. And before I chose to do that for myself, my life was pretty miserable. I have shared with you that in the past, when I was in my 20s, I was in a very toxic codependent relationship off and on for over a decade. And in that time of my life, I took zero responsibility for myself. I took zero responsibility for my actions and my choices and how my life was. It was so much easier for me to blame everyone else. It was so much easier to be a victim to my life than to take responsibility for my choices and my actions and how, and I think I just didn't even understand that my life sucked because of me. It was just easier to blame other people. And I think so many of us do this. And that's why I want to share this with you today is because, you know, I've worked with women that at the beginning of our conversations, when we start working together, they're such in a blame victim mindset. And so they're so resistant to the growth and they're so resistant to the work until they understand that their life is the way it is because of the choices and the actions they've made. And for so many of us, this is so hard to hear. We don't want to take accountability. We want to continue to blame our parents or our sister or our brother or whoever, a teacher, an advisor, our boss. We want to blame everybody else for the reason we're not where we are in life or anything. You know, I think even when I was in this place of blame and victim, it was so easy for me to lie too. I would lie about things because I didn't want to tell the truth and make the and I guess own that something was my fault. It was like, well, let me lie about it to save face, if that makes sense. And it was just a gross place to be. Like, I never want to go back to this place because it did not serve me. It did not feel good. Like, I can remember the feeling that I had inside. It was just, ugh. And I just never want to be there again. And so I spent a very long time in my life blaming others and being a victim, and it didn't serve me. And I wasn't happy. And, you know, I've also shared before that when I ended my codependent relationship in 2012, I thought, oh, magically my life was going to be different and I was going to be happy. Well, that wasn't the case. I was still miserable because I still wasn't taking any responsibility for my life. You know, everything was happening to me, not for me. And that was such a negative place to live. And so when I found self-development in 2013, I didn't realize that personal responsibility and accountability were going to be a part of it. And I remember I was at a 3-day seminar over a weekend. And in this seminar, they started touching on this point. They had people going up and sharing a story that they created about themselves or a story about a situation in their life. And as people were sharing, it became more and more aware of that everyone's stories were because of them, right? They made these up. They were blaming other people for how their life was or for situations. And so me and 500 other people in this room had to start really understanding that we needed to take responsibility for our lives and for the actions and the choices that we've made. And that was really my first experience with taking personal responsibility. And it was hard. It wasn't easy. I didn't immediately like jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, I'm taking responsibility for my life. It took a lot of work. And I remember getting feedback from people and, you know, feedback for me for a long time was so hard. Now I love it. I embrace it. I'm like, please give me feedback. But back then in 2013, when somebody would give me feedback, I was more like, F you, because I was taking it personally. And I wasn't able to sit and understand, okay, well, maybe they have a point. It was just easier to, again, be a victim or to blame or not take responsibility for my actions or whatever the feedback was about. And it just wasn't a place I wanted to be. And so the more I did work on myself, the more I grew myself, the more I understood the importance of personal responsibility and accountability. And in 2015, I sat down with my codependent ex and I took full responsibility for who I was in our relationship. And, I shared with you, so it was over a decade of codependency, toxic, and he was very active in his alcohol and drug abuse. And I didn't know at the time that I was codependent. I didn't know I was an enabler. I didn't know that I sucked until I knew, right? Until I started taking responsibility for my life. And so I remember texting him and saying, hey, I want to meet with you. I want to have a conversation. And when we sat down to have the conversation, I told him, like, hey, I'm so sorry for who I was in our relationship. I'm sorry that I was so unkind. I'm sorry that I enabled the behaviors. I'm sorry that I wasn't a good person in our relationship. And he said, oh, no, like, it's not your fault. And I said, no, please, like, let me take responsibility for my actions and for who I was. I had done so much growth from 2013 to 2015. And I needed to start owning my shit. I needed to start being the person I knew I wanted to be. And so part of that was taking responsibility for my actions and who I was and how I showed up in the world. And I will tell you, I'm so incredibly grateful that I chose to take responsibility for who I was in that relationship, because about 2 years later, we were married. And I was never going to marry this man. Absolutely not. But I took responsibility for who I was, and he had also done so much work on himself. He had gotten sober, and now we've been married for, it's going to be 5 years in September, and we're living an amazing life, and we're so happy because we both choose to take responsibility for our life and for our actions and our choices. And when you choose to do that, it is so empowering and it's so impactful on your life. And so if you are not currently somebody that is taking personal responsibility, I challenge you to. And sometimes it's hard to know. Like, I don't think I knew that I wasn't taking responsibility for my life. I didn't know that I wasn't taking accountability for my life, right? I was just so stuck in this blame and victim mindset that I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm so grateful that I chose to start working on myself, because now I'm fully aware. Even to the point where I've taken responsibility for the fact that I got breast cancer last year. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021 and couldn't believe it. But the more I did research and the more I learned about things that can cause breast cancer, because again, breast cancer didn't run in my family. It doesn't run in my family. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a fluke accident. Like, what's happening? But the more I found out about what can cause breast cancer, I started realizing, like, oh, I probably did this to myself. By the way I was in my 20s, I drank almost daily. Alcohol can cause breast cancer. I had so much negativity, so many negative emotions stuck in my body, because anytime I would feel something, whether it was like sadness or anger or whatever, I would just stop it and I would stuff it down and stuff it down and stuff it down. Like, I never wanted to feel my feelings. And so, right, I believe that when you don't acknowledge your feelings, when you don't feel your feelings, they can come back as disease. And so, I have fully taken responsibility for my life. I have taken responsibility for the fact that I got breast cancer. I know that it was because of my choices, but I also know now that it's not coming back, because I have built my awareness around it and I changed my actions and the things that I do, and I take way better care of myself. So taking responsibility is just so impactful on your life. And so if you are somebody who blames others, if you lie about your actions, right, to save face, if you are being a victim, I challenge you to reach out to me to find out how my coaching program can help you in shifting this way of thinking. I'm a positive mindset coach, and so we will work on taking responsibility for your life, because if you're constantly in this place of victim, it won't work. I've had clients that have started to work with me and they will not take any accountability. And so I've had to cut ties with them after 2 months, because I can't help you change unless you're ready, unless you're willing to take the feedback to transform your life. So I have 3 spots open for my coaching program this month, and I would love to support you in taking full responsibility for your life. I would love to support you in growing your self-love and your confidence and your career and letting go of limiting beliefs and the fear that is stopping you. There's so many amazing things in my program that can really help you transform your life. So please send me a DM right now with the word program to find out more information on what I do as a coach and how I can help you in transforming your life. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. I look forward to connecting soon.